Hey, everybody. Welcome to Jets Talk Now. I'm Paul Fiore. Welcome to tonight's Jets Tampa Bay Week 1 preseason reaction video. Thanks for joining. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Please click like and subscribe. So we had the Jets lose 24-16. Quick reaction video. I don't think there's a lot to talk about past quarter 2. If I'm being generous, really midway through Q2. The Jets, started Cade Klubnik. We got a late scratch from Gino. He was originally supposed to play. It turns out he had something going on with his ankle. Sounds like it was pretty minor, but the Jets made the wise decision not to play him. If he had any kind of lingering issue, you don't play the guy in week 1 of preseason, especially when, as we see tonight, your backup pool of quarterbacks currently after Cade is Bailey Zappi and Brady Cook. Tampa Bay basically sat all of their key players. No Baker. Multiple players did not play for them. So it was really first drive of the game, Jets' first string offense plus Cade Klubnik versus kind of Tampa's backups. And, it's preseason football, which is fake football in a lot of ways. There's vanilla defenses, vanilla offenses. No one's showing anything. But what you still look for in preseason is the young guys and how they show up, how they execute. For young quarterbacks, their poise and composure in the pocket, their ability to go through their progressions. Do they look overwhelmed by the situation or the moment? And, for Cade, this was a surprise start. He wasn't expected to start. It was a home game. Granted, there was barely anybody in the stands. But you would imagine for a kid who was drafted in the 4th round, he had to have butterflies. He had to have some feelings of nervousness. And so going out there, especially being 4th round draft pick, having a terrible senior season at Clemson. Regardless of what expectations may be for him, I'm sure his own personal expectations are a lot higher than most of the fan base, media, and NFL pundits. So I'm sure he has the feeling going out there, I've got something to prove. He did not look like he was forcing anything. He was super composed in the first drive. He took the Jets right down the field. There should have been a touchdown on that drive. We saw Breece Hall break off a nice run, get to the outside, and then stumble a bit, lose his footing. I don't know if that was the MetLife turf gremlins getting him or if it was just Breece losing his footing. Of course, it's MetLife, so everyone's going to blame the turf. I'm not so sure. He looked like he was stumbling as he was getting to the outside. And so the Jets' drive stalled, I believe, at the 3-yard line. In that drive, I thought he looked very composed. He made a really nice play to Garrett where he put the ball where only Garrett could get it. Garrett did what Garrett does. Obviously, better catch than throw. But again, young quarterback recognizing what kind of player Garrett is, he made a great play to get him that ball where no one else could have absolutely done anything with it. He had his check downs well. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He didn't force anything. He looked like he had command of the huddle. Very, very composed first drive. I was very pleased. And I think as Jets fans, there's not much to come away with saying you didn't like what you saw because he had plenty of zip on the football. He was accurate with what he was doing. They had one screw up on the play to Breece in the second, I think it was the second play of the game. But, he hit Mason Taylor a couple of times. A nice rollout. You can see the athleticism. You can see why, people were high on Cade going into last year. So, I'm not sitting here pounding the table believing that Cade Klubnik is going to become the next Brock Purdy, the next Russell Wilson, or Dak Prescott. Go down the list. But can he be a solid long-term QB too? I mean, that's something that we need to figure out this year. I think that's an extremely important part of the development of this football team as we head towards the future. So I was very, very pleased with the first drive. Second drive was all Braylon Allen. So really not much there with Cade. And Braylon Allen, showed burst. He looked good coming back off that injury. Offensive line looked really good. Again, it was against the backups for Tampa, so I'm not going to take too much away from that. But, Cade had plenty of time. But, first series, the Jets starters are out there with Cade. Second series, it was the Jets' second string backups. And by the end of the second series, we were done. So we had a field goal, first drive, a Braylon Allen 31-yard touchdown run, second drive, and then we get to the third drive with the offense, and we turn to Bailey Zappi. Now, I have said from the beginning, it makes no sense to me why if you're going into this season with right now on your depth chart, Cade Klubnik is QB2, that he shouldn't be getting the vast majority of the reps in the preseason. And today he got 2 drives. Bailey Zappi was on the field much longer than that. And for anyone that thinks there was an actual competition between Zappi, Klubnik, and Cook, I just point you to tonight. And you can then look at the track records of Bailey Zappi, NFL track record of Bailey Zappi and Brady Cook's sample size last year. That should be all there is to tell you that unless the Jets were to go out and find someone who's a vet backup quarterback, QB2 is Cade Klubnik's. Okay. But the Jets treated him like he was QB1 tonight because they took him out after the second series. He threw, what was he, 5 for 7 for 56 yards? I just don't understand that. I expected him to get the entire first half. Now, maybe they're that worried about any kind of injury that they're now left with Geno, Zappi, and Cook. I mean, I guess. But if you're going to play that scared for your QB2, then you've not done a good job of surrounding that room with competent quarterbacks, because this is the time that kid needs to play. Drew Aller played significant football yesterday. Carson Beck played significant football already in the preseason. There's no reason why Cade Klubnik shouldn't be doing the same. Now, I hope in the second week we see a lot more of Cade, and I think he needs to play a full half of football. He just does. He needs to be in the ebb and flow of the game. He had 2 really nice drives, and then it was over. And you bring in Zappi, and his first throw is a pick 6. His second throw is to Stonehands Arian Smith, who I took a lot of crap for when I said at the beginning of this camp, this is the last camp you'll see of Arian Smith as a New York Jet. Doesn't mean they're going to cut him by the end of the camp, because I have a feeling they keep him for special teams, and they don't want to admit their mistake because they drafted him way too freaking high. But he's a stiff. He's a bad football player. He has one skill set: speed. He can't catch. He's an average to below average route runner. So Arian Smith is a bad football player. He proved it again tonight, right? And Bailey Zappi is an awful quarterback. Like, he's bad. He doesn't get rid of the ball. He takes sacks. He's inaccurate. So the game after Klubnik came out really became like a trying to find the diamonds in the rough in a very, very, very boring football game. Clark made some nice plays at the safety position. He was moving around decently. Bamba, Bamba's interesting because he had a lot of pass deflections, and thankfully he wasn't hurt. He went into concussion protocol and came back into the game. But, you're talking about a guy from BYU, 6'2", kind of a find for them. If you actually watch, he was getting beat off the line pretty consistently, but he had a nice recovery. And so all those pass deflections were him actually coming back into the play because he was beat and then he got back and recovered. So it's a good quality to have. I think it's something you can pay attention to and say, well, maybe that he can become something, or does he stick around? I don't know if he makes the 53. But what stood out to me is Jets secondary against the backup quarterback did not look good. Stevens got beat. early on. And, that's the weakness of this defense in my mind right now. David Bailey was in there for a couple of series. They were chipping him. All the attention was going to him. And Will McDonald took advantage of that. So I think that's going to be a big benefit for Will McDonald during the season. So that's a positive in general. I'm not worried that Bailey didn't get a sack. I'm happy that they were actually paying that much attention to a guy in his first preseason game. Goes to show you what Tampa Bay thought of what happened in the 2 practice days that these guys played against each other. So I think that's positive. Cisco did not start the game, and he was out there with the second stringers. I think that does tell you something. I know he's probably fighting for the starting job with Belton. We'll see. I just think the safety position in general is weak. Minka's obviously a good football player. Cisco has not been good. He did not look good again tonight. What else did we see? Again, we saw some burst from Braylon Allen, which was nice. Offensive line, the starting offensive line looked good. Backup offensive line looked terrible. Brady Cook was not good. The Jets, again, it was really bad preseason football after the second quarter. The second half was nearly unwatchable. On the kicking side, interestingly enough, it seems like Cade York is somehow ahead of Sanders. And I'm not sure why. They gave him credit for that field goal. I don't know about you guys, but that did not look like he made that kick. That looked like it was wide left in my mind, but he got credit for it. Sanders kicked one, I think dead center in the second half, 47-yard field goal. I don't know. I personally would trust Sanders more than York. I think he's a more accurate kicker. But we'll see. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really stood out. Cooper had a nice play at one point in the game. People are going to make a big deal that he's behind Isaiah Williams right now. I don't know why. He's a rookie wide receiver. Rookie wide receivers oftentimes take a bit to get acclimated to the game, to the offensive system. I'd be much more concerned if we were in week 5, 6, or 7 and he was behind Isaiah Williams. Isaiah Williams has earned the opportunity. He's busted his hump and he's played well. I just don't put too much into where we are today with the depth chart and Cooper and saying, well, your first round wide receiver you moved up to get is behind Isaiah Williams. He's a bust. It's kind of a crazy reaction personally. So that's kind of my takeaway from the game tonight. The one thing I do want to kind of, I'm sticking to my guns on, and I am adamant about, is I see this often on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, whether it's the Beat or others who are saying the Jets need to go get themselves a veteran backup quarterback to be QB2. I do not understand for the life of me that perspective. I just don't. Cade Klubnik has played a ton of college football, like a ton. He was a highly touted prospect before he had a bad year last year. He was hurt last year. He was sick last year and lost 15 pounds during the season, and was on a team that was bad in general. That does not mean he's not capable of becoming QB2. What veteran, at this point, what veteran are you bringing in to back up Geno Smith that would be a better option for Klubnik? And here's the reason why I say that. If you have to go to QB2, one of two things has happened. Maybe 3 things. Let's go with 3 things could have happened. If it's early, Geno got hurt, or Geno was terrible. Okay? Now, if you go on the scrap heap and you get what? Andy Dalton, you go make a trade for Andy Dalton to be a backup quarterback. Anthony Richardson, like, he stinks. But let's use Andy Dalton as the guy. 39 years old. He's been awful for a long time now. If Geno gets hurt, you turn to 39-year-old Andy Dalton, you think that's going to save Aaron Glenn's ass? Like, the season is over. If Geno stinks, is washed or hurt, and it's week 4 or 5, and your backup quarterback is now Andy Dalton, I assure you he's not saving anybody's job. Okay. You have a better chance of putting in Cade Klubnik, having the miracle of miracles happen where he actually turns out to be someone who can be a serviceable starter, let alone a good QB2, and keep the team afloat for the rest of the season than you do Andy Dalton doing anything to make a difference in the Jets season. If you have to get rid of Geno early in the season's not going anywhere anyway. The other option would be at the end of week 12, we go to the bye week. The Jets are 4-8 or 5-7. They're really not in the hunt for anything. Then you say, all right, now I'm going to go bring in my backup quarterback after the bye week. That's a perfect opportunity for Cade to play. So I just don't see where it would make sense. Now, if you tell me you want to go get Andy Dalton, throw him in there as QB3 and replace a Bailey Zappi or a Brady Cook, fine. That makes a ton of sense because then you can say, all right, Geno's no good. He's not playing well, or he got hurt. We're going to go to Klubnik. Let the kid play. Plays a couple games. He doesn't look good, or he's struggling, and you got to pull him. Okay, then turn to the vet at that point. It's not like you're going to go out there like what the Giants did. I'll get a perfect example. The Giants, they got Jameis, Russell, and Jackson Dart, and they said, all right, well, Dart's going to be QB3. Right? That was the plan initially. And we could say, well, Dart was a first-round pick. Klubnik was a fourth-round pick. Look at the number of games they played in college and their experience. Look at how touted they were as prospects before the last season of Klubnik's, what happened with him. And then you tell me what happened when it was time to move on from Russell Wilson. They went to Dart. Now, if Dart was unprepared or if he was no good or, like he got hurt, then you have Jameis, and that's fine, right? But Jameis wasn't going to save anybody's job, right? And so from my perspective, again, Cade Klubnik has a higher ceiling. This is the simplicity of it all. Cade Klubnik, who I don't believe, by the way, is a QB1. So I just want to be very clear. I'd love for it to happen, but I if he's a serviceable QB2, that's a home run for the Jets in the 4th round. But if Cade Klubnik has to play, or you have a choice between Cade Klubnik, Andy Dalton, I don't know, Mason Rudolph, right? I don't know who else is out there because the Pittsburgh has 4 quarterbacks, right? Who would you rather play? I'm playing Klubnik over Mason Rudolph, who we know stinks in the league, Andy Dalton, who we know is washed in the league, and Cade Klubnik, who we don't know yet. We know he's a young guy who's played a lot of college football, who looks poised, looks like he can handle the position. Give him the opportunity. So that's where I stand on it, and I get it. I understand where people think, well, but this is not like the year the Jets went into with Aaron Rodgers as QB1 and Zach as QB2. It's not the same thing. The Jets went into that season with Aaron Rodgers nearing 40 years old as QB1. Their backup plan of Zach Wilson, who had already flamed out in New York, was insane. You had a team that you believed was competing for a division or further, and your backup quarterback was a guy that you literally benched and couldn't wait to get away from. That is a very, very different situation than what we're watching with the Jets this year. Okay. Last year with the Jets, they had Fields, Tyrod Taylor. They had Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor. That made sense, right? Because Aaron Rodgers, older guy, Tyrod as his backup, made sense to me. Last year, Fields, he was your high ceiling. Your belief was he was your high ceiling guy. Tyrod was his backup. And then you had Brady Cook as your development QB3, who was an undrafted free agent. This year, in my mind, Cade as QB2 makes a ton of sense. Pittsburgh, what do you think they're going to do? Drew Aller is going to be their QB2. Clearly, he is the better of all of those guys. He has the bigger ceiling than Will Howard. He is going to be better than Mason Rudolph. And if you paid attention to what Mike McCarthy said in his interview today, they believe they drafted a first-round talent. Everything he's done to this point solidifies that to them. To me, that means he's your QB2 who you're developing to take over the position probably next year. right? Now, it may not work out for them. They may wind up having to draft a quarterback anyway, but they're going to give him the opportunity to be QB2, right? Mendoza is going to be QB2 to Kirk Cousins. Tyler Shuck was QB2 last year to Spencer Rattler. Like, this is not an unheard of thing. Carson Beck is QB2 in Arizona. So Carson Beck, is he a better football player than Cade Klubnik? I don't know. I don't think it's dramatically different, to be honest. So I know I'm on a little bit of a rant on this, but I'm tired of hearing the narrative that the Jets need to get a veteran backup quarterback. I know. I don't want to watch that as a fan. If you're a fan and you'd rather watch Andy Dalton play than Cade Klubnik, I don't know what you're doing. It doesn't make sense to me as a fan. Anyway, enough of my rant. Jets lose 24-16. Cade looked pretty good. Bailey getting double teamed. We talked about some of the positives, a lot of the negatives, obviously. Secondary with Cisco. Stevens didn't look good. Our QB3 and QB4 stink. So, we'll see what happens, next weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Probably check in with you guys during the week. Please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.